It is October 17th, 2023. I am Darin Kunis. This is Sports 845. To my right, with a record of 409 and 127, a New York State Hall of Fame basketball coach. He has 127 losses by a combined 127 points and 127 bad calls. The legendary Dick O'Neill, who, Dick, before we're going to do section 9 first, but before, I'll just mention yesterday, and just a little tease here, you came in all dressed up in your Jets. You hadn't worn it since 1969.
Right. They still had creases in them.
Yeah, and we'll talk NFL, but I want to get into Section 9. The Section 9 report is brought to you by Artist Alley, Elite Studios, 706 East Market Street in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's worth the 2-hour drive for a haircut. I screwed up last week. I got my hair cut by a guy identifying as a hairdresser, and I didn't hear the end of it. But Artist Alley does a great job. She even can do your hair.
Yes.
Dick, Section 9, it's coming down to the end. There's a few games left.
Right.
And let me just run through it.
Yeah.
Because in Class A, Minnesink beat Washingtonville in a good game.
Right.
And Warwick has to beat Minnesink by 21 or more points.
Right.
You need to really, as you said, you need to be a graduate of MIT to figure this out. And let me just tell you something and I think you'll agree.
Right.
Very silly. Saying a team has to beat another team by 21 points is totally wrong. It should be whoever gives up the least amount of points.
Exactly. I agree.
Because you're telling teams, can you imagine in basketball or in poor Monticello in football has to play like Goshen or Cornwall, and they tell Cornwall you got to win by 90?
Yeah,
win by 90.
But it's kind of like that in the big time college football too, though.
Is it? I thought it went more head to head and less points.
but no. I guess that's why these guys play some of these patsies. They ring up these big numbers. I think that has a lot to do with it. Not a lot to do with it, but enough to do with it.
I think we both are on the same page, though.
We
it
are.
Should be based on the defense, not the offense.
Exactly.
And that's when someone gets hurt, too.
Right.
So Class A looks like the final four, the 4 seeds, in trying to understand this, looks like it's going to be Minnesink Valley, Cornwall, Washingtonville, and Lords.
Okay.
In Double A, and I heard from a source, I tried to get Timmy Strenfeld, the Middletown coach, in here. They had a tough loss with Monroe, but they beat Newburgh, which is a big win. I heard Middletown could be the team we're rooting for at the end of this. They are very good, I hear.
Okay, I haven't seen them play, but I will. And football is going to be on my agenda the next weekend, few weekends.
So you got Newburgh, Monroe, Middletown, and then the 4th seed looks like it's the winner of the Pine Bush Valley Central game.
Okay.
If I understand it right. Class B, Marlboro is undefeated. They clinched the 1 seed. Saugerties is the 2. If Beacon beats Liberty by 311 points, they're in, and Port Jervis is in as well, it looks like.
Right.
As far as Class D, Burke clinched day 1.
Right.
They're the only team in Class D, so they're in the state tournament.
Yeah, I understood. Didn't Beacon have to forfeit a game because they didn't have enough players? Did I read that or hear that? Could that have been?
I don't know.
Oh,
You're in charge of Beacon in this,
okay.
in this show.
All right, I will find out.
You run the Beacon part of the show.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm across the river guy.
Yeah, you're on the other side.
All right, okay.
That's Section 9. We're going to have a coach in next week or 2 to go over. We'll get, when the playoffs start, we'll get into it.
Right.
Dick, I wanted to mention one thing. I'm not going to name the high school, but I found this very, very odd, and it's lacrosse. A school, New York State, as far as I know, in Pennsylvania, I know, it is mandated for safety reasons, as well as it should be, that boys lacrosse, they have to wear helmets. Do you know there's schools out there that are charging kids for their helmets? They would never do that in football. Helmets and pads the kids have to buy. You're talking about a $500-$600 investment for your kid to play lacrosse in some schools.
Is that correct?
Yeah, not a private school, a public school. Yeah, I find that very bizarre.
In New York here?
No. It could happen in New York.
Oh, okay,
but it's right across the river. Right,
Okay, all right. That's very strange to me.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
The other thing I wanted to mention as far as local sports is I've said this for years, and I witnessed it the other day. And it could have been a lot worse. Thank God she's okay. Cheerleaders do a great job. Great job. And they're part of the football team. They do a very good job, and they're very entertaining. But for them not to have padding down on a turf field, or even to take it a step further, on a basketball court, on a hardwood floor, Some of these girls are being thrown up 10, 12 feet in the air. Well, one girl missed, and we had an ambulance on the field, and thank God the girl's okay. Until a girl gets hurt, they won't put padding down.
Well, I have firsthand information on that. We were playing in Valley Central my second or third year at Monticello.
Okay.
And
Basketball. Yep.
Right. And they had worked out some kind of routine. The Valley Central girls, not the Monticello girls.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was running out. We had a big lead on Valley Central, and they were call timeout, Coach Hughes. Call timeout. They wanted the Valley Central coach to call a timeout. Then they started chanting to me, Coach, please call a timeout. Well, I called the timeout with 3 seconds to go. They tossed the girl up right down on the floor, right down on the gym floor.
It's very
They had
dangerous.
to wait for an ambulance, and you talk about taking the sting out of, it was shocking. It was shocking.
I mean, they consider.
Yeah.
I'm not minimizing it, but they consider cheerleading a sport right now.
They do.
They have competitions and everything.
They do.
Well, if they're doing all that, protect these girls.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. Yes.
I mean, this girl went straight down on the ground.
And they're athletic.
More dangerous than any football
and they're
play.
thrown them high. I mean, there's no.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, for Section 9, we will get into it. We'll have a kid in here next week, a coach in here next week, and we'll talk Section 9 playoffs.
Well, and seating meetings in soccer for both boys and girls are Thursday night, and we'll have the sectional pairings for them next week.
Great.
In boys
Maybe we'll
soccer.
get Mike Kelly in or something.
Yes, and also volleyball. I think their seating meetings are Thursday night also. There's a lot of seating meetings going on these days. So.
That is the Section 9 report brought to you by Artist Alley, Elite Studios, 7060 East Market Street, Studio 12B in Westchester, Pennsylvania. When we come back, before we get to your Jets, I want to go around college football and talk a little bit about that. We'll be right back. We are back. It is Sports 845. I am Darin Kunis, and to my right, Dick O'Neill, who just got finished polishing off a Linzer tart. And let me tell you, I got to read one thing before we go further, because we talk about betting sometimes on this show. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. And if you have a really bad gambling problem, like you don't have any idea what the hell you're doing, call me. I'll take your bets. I'm sure that'll go over well. Dick, I watched Oregon-Washington. First football game I watched in its entirety from start to finish. And it was an instant classic.
No question.
It was a great game. Mm-hmm. Two teams, typical Pac-12 teams that don't play defense.
Right.
But two great quarterbacks that are going to succeed at the next level. Everybody is down on Caleb Williams after his last two games. I'm not down on him, but I don't think he is the surefire great NFL quarterback that projected.
Well, in the Heisman thing, I don't know if you noticed, he moved from the favorite to number 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he moved behind Pennick, behind Bo Nix even.
Bo Nix, I think, is going to not only he's going to play at the next level. I think Bo Nix could be a very good player at the next level.
I think so too.
He's a big kid.
I didn't
strong.
think so when he was at Auburn.
Neither did I.
No, but they put him in a different offense now.
Just goes to show you.
Right, exactly.
Bo Nix is a talented quarterback who can definitely succeed. In the NFL.
Penix made the right move. Both of these kids are well coached. These teams are well coached. There's the first game. There was no monumental coaching errors where they said, "Oh, this guy," that kind of thing. Why did he do that? They just whoever had the ball last was going to win.
Gambled several times.
They did
several times, but at least he was consistent in the gamble.
Right.
Going for it nonstop, and he was right. Whoever had the ball last was going to win.
Exactly.
You mentioned some teams before we get into the great teams or the very good teams, because I don't know if there's a clear-cut great team.
Yeah.
You mentioned USC. Done for a national title?
I think they would have to be. I mean, because they got some big games coming up against both of these teams that they could lose.
Keep talking. They have USC has coming up on their, and you're right. Yeah. They just got done getting trounced by Notre Dame.
Right.
Now they go to Utah where they're home against Utah where Cam Rising could be back.
Exactly.
They're at Cal. You're right.
Yeah.
Look at this schedule. Utah, after Notre Dame, they go Utah, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, and California mixed in there.
Hell, they could have 3 or 4 losses.
You're
They
right.
could have 3 or 4 losses.
Do you-
Not that they couldn't win these games, but I see them having 3 or 4. Their defense is non-existent.
Mhm.
You know, they put so much pressure on Williams that he has to score. And listen, the coach is brilliant. Lincoln Riley is a brilliant offensive coach. But
There you go. Offensive.
That's what I said.
The guy recruits 56 offensive players.
And they're very good. They can outscore you, but their defense gives up more than they can score. And there's always pressure on their offense to score every time they have the ball.
Mhm.
And the same way with Kentucky. They're going 5-0. And who was it? LSU.
Missouri.
No, but the week before it was LSU.
Yes.
And they get blown out there.
Well, they didn't get blown out. No. LSU played Missouri last week.
I'm talking about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought when you said last week, you meant last week.
Kentucky played Missouri Saturday.
Yes.
And got beat there. That's a game they
Handily.
should have won.
At home.
A game they should have won.
At home.
Yeah. So
Yes.
they're done.
Mhm.
They're done.
Yeah.
Louisville, who I looked so good against Notre Dame, they
Mhm.
looked unbelievable against Notre Dame. They get beat. I think they're a little fugazi. You
Mhm.
know, I just don't
Well,
think
yeah, they're not.
yeah.
I don't think anybody's.
And there's
talking
one
about-
other school that really disappointed me that I thought was going to be good. And they had a good record and died.
Well, let me ask you this.
All
while you
right,
think
look
about
at Texas A&M is gone.
Oh,
They're gone.
Yeah.
Gone. So
Let me give you. Is there a team in the Pac-12 that's going to be in the Final Four? And let me.
there's 2 teams that could be in the Final
Who
Four.
are they?
I think if Oregon beats Washington,
Oregon lost to Washington.
but they're going to play again in
The
the
Pac-12,
crossover.
okay.
They both would have 1 loss at
Okay.
that point. I think they could both get in, depending on how everything falls.
Let me give you Washington's schedule, which
Right.
and these teams that aren't in the national
Right.
championship consideration are
Right.
still very good teams,
Right.
like Washington State and Oregon State.
Right.
I would not want to go to Corvallis and play Oregon State.
No, not at all.
So Washington has left. They have Arizona State this week.
Right.
That's a win. Then they
Right.
have Stanford, but then they go USC, Utah, and Oregon State,
yeah.
and
that-
then finish with Washington State in the
which
rivalry
is a
game.
rivalry game. Yes, indeed.
So any team could lose there. Can
Right.
Oregon lose again? Let me give you their schedule, Dick.
well, they got USC. They
Oregon
they got the
has-
same run.
Oregon's at Utah this
Yes,
week.
exactly.
No gimme.
Right,
And we mentioned Rising.
right,
I'm sorry, that game's in 2 weeks.
yeah,
Oregon has Washington State.
right,
Tough game.
right.
They still have USC.
Right.
And then their rivalry game with Oregon State.
Right. Yes.
So and those are the teams in the Pac-12. I
Right.
don't think we skipped. Washington State's good. They're not
Yeah.
in any national title consideration. Oregon State's good. Not in
Yeah.
any.
Yeah.
And I think USC, one more loss, they're done.
Right. I agree.
Georgia. Now we move to the national level,
Right,
with
okay.
the other conferences.
Right.
Let me give you the top 10.
Right.
Came out yesterday. Georgia. They're off, and then they go to Florida, to the Gators. Michigan has Michigan State. Here's the game of the week. Ohio State is home to Penn State.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that game in a
Right.
second. Florida State is home against a very good Duke team.
Okay.
Not a great team.
Yeah, but without their quarterback, though, right?
No, he's back.
Is
Leonard's
he?
back. Yeah.
Is he?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Washington, I said, is home to ASU. Oklahoma at Kansas. Oklahoma is playing defense.
Right.
But Kansas, this could be a game. Oklahoma at Kansas. If it was in Oklahoma, I'd say no chance. At Kansas, that could be a tough game for them.
It's going to be a tough game.
I agree.
Not could be. It's going to be.
I mentioned Penn State, Ohio State, Texas at Houston, Oregon home to Washington State. What are your thoughts on Mac Brown's Tar Heels? They're home versus Virginia. They had a big win against the Hurricanes.
I don't think Virginia's got anything for them personally.
No, but what are your thoughts on Carolina? Are they a national title contender?
No, I don't think. I think they do the same things. I don't think their defense is up to par. To be personal, they got one of the best players in the country, no question.
Mhm.
One of the best players in the country. Their offense is up to par, but they have a tendency to disappear when the lights get bright. They disappear. I know you're a big North Carolina fan, but
Well, let me just tell you something. North Carolina, the ACC, a team that goes undefeated and wins the ACC is in the Final Four.
I agree.
So that's where North Carolina definitely has a chance.
Mhm.
Now, Carolina has Virginia at home.
Yeah, that's a win.
They go to Georgia Tech. That's a win.
That's a win.
They're home to Campbell. That's a win.
Yeah.
They're home to Duke. That's a win, I believe.
Okay. Well.
At Clemson, at North Carolina State
Yeah.
to finish the season.
Yeah.
The North Carolina Clemson game could be the biggest game in Tar Heel football in a long time.
I agree.
Since Lawrence Taylor's
Yeah.
days. If North Carolina beats Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
I think North Carolina is in your Final Four if they beat Clemson.
That could be. And
Because the ACC is down.
The same could be true for Clemson now.
No, can't.
You don't think?
No, they have 2 or 3 losses. They're done.
Do they?
Yes, Clemson is no. I disagree with you. Clemson's done. Clemson has losses at Florida State. They lost to Duke already. They have 2 losses.
Oh, that's right. They lost.
They're done.
All right. I forget.
They're done.
All right. I forgot they had lost to Duke. All right.
So is there any Alabama still has 1 loss? They're right there at 11.
Right.
I don't see. I guess there is a universe where Alabama could get there, but it would be tough.
Well, if they win the West, and then beat Georgia in the thing, one of them's. Well, there's another scenario where both of them could go.
Both who?
Alabama and Georgia. Yeah.
Let me give you Alabama.
Tennessee.
First of all, Alabama's playing home to Tennessee this week.
Right.
I think they win that game.
Yeah.
They're home to LSU. They go to Kentucky. They have Chattanooga. And then, of course, the Iron Bowl with Auburn.
Right.
So you're right. Alabama's schedule in the West.
Right.
If Alabama can win the West and play Georgia and beat them, then you're right.
Yeah. Then 2 teams could go there.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's possible.
You got to see.
You'd have
how
to
this
have
is
other
gonna
teams
play
fall.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I think the Pac-10, the Big Ten,
Right.
is the best conference in football right now.
Okay, but what happens if they beat each other? What happens if Penn State beats Ohio State this week, then gets beat by Michigan, who then gets beat by Ohio State? That's a mess.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
Because they're the only 3 teams involved, as far as I'm concerned, in the Big Ten. The Big Ten may be strong.
Yeah.
They may be
Yeah,
strong.
you're right.
But they're the only 3 teams in contention for anything.
You're right.
So-
Who wins the Penn State-Ohio State game? It's in Ohio State. It's at the Horseshoe.
I'm gonna go Ohio State.
I think
On
Penn
the field
State.
goal.
I think Penn State beats them.
Oh, so you're gonna bet it?
The line is a 4-point line.
Yeah.
I think Penn State is the better team. I don't think Ohio State. I don't think this is a vintage Ohio
No,
State team. They have the best wide receiver
Right.
in
They do.
college.
They do.
But I think Penn State has better players this
Do
year.
you? Okay.
But
All
we'll
right.
see.
All right. I think it's tough to win in that shoe. I just think
Very
it's
tough.
very difficult. to
Very
win
tough.
that. Yeah.
If the game was at Penn State, it would be Penn State a 4-point favorite.
I agree with you.
And I do think Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten.
Yes, I would have to say that at this point, the way they're playing. But if their 1 loss with their out of conference schedule could really hurt them. Because
Michigan.
because they have absolutely played nobody.
Yeah, they haven't lost. Let me give you their
Nobody.
schedule. You're right.
Nobody.
Look what they opened up. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers is not a doormat anymore. They're not a dick. I'm just saying they're not a doormat.
Okay. All right.
They won some Big Ten games. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, Purdue, at Penn State,
Yeah.
at Maryland, who's not a bad team,
Yeah.
and then home for Ohio State.
Right.
I still think here's who I think is the final. I think the 4 best teams today
Okay.
are Georgia, Michigan, Georgia, Michigan,
You can throw Oklahoma in there?
Oklahoma,
Okay.
and I'm going to put North Carolina in there, not because they're the 4th best, but I think they're going to be the 4th team. I just eliminated every Big 12 team, Pac-12 team.
That's a tough thing.
Right now today. And I'm not saying Carolina is one of the top 4 teams.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're going to be in the Final Four with a win over Clemson.
Yeah. But I think a loss also knocks them out.
Done. Finished.
Yeah, done.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
But the 4 best teams in the country, I think Florida State's involved.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I think
yes.
Florida
Oh,
State,
yeah.
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn
Yeah.
State.
You know, I think if Florida State gets in, they can win it.
So do I.
I think they're that good.
Yeah,
I think
they
they're
are.
that good. But they have a tendency to do something. You know, they have a tendency to have a lapse or, just don't get up for a game or take a game off. And again,
I'll tell you, what Mario Cristobal in
Yeah.
Miami did 2 weeks ago was coaching malpractice. He destroyed the season.
Right.
You could tell in the feel of the Miami-North Carolina game that the Miami players were furious they didn't go into that game 5-0. And I think if they went in 5-0, you have a different result. Because I think Miami's more talented. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
And Cristobal destroyed their season.
And he's a good coach, too.
I don't know. He's a great recruiter.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a good coach.
Well, I think that's 75% of his recruiting.
But he was terrible. This portion of the show is brought to you by Village Pizza, 100 Greenwich Avenue, Goshen, New York. Go in there. The phone number is 845-294-7923. I go in there all the time. They have the best pizza around, Village Pizza, a million pizza places in Goshen. That's the best. Go in there and ask for Pope John Paul. They've been in business for 100 years. The pizza's got to be good.
Right.
We will be back and talk some NFL and talk about Dick's clothing outfit yesterday. We are back. Sports 845, October 17th. To my right, Dick O'Neill, the huge Jets fan, Jets. And if the Jets win another game, he will do Fireman Ed for you on the next show. This portion of the show is brought to you by Brew, located on 2 Railroad Avenue in Goshen, New York. If you ever walk in there, fantastic atmosphere, great bar. The food is fantastic, and the Irishman is known to hang out there. Hopefully we'll hear from him later. Dick, let's go right to the Jet game. First of all, I'm watching the game. I told you I liked the Jets the week before.
Mhm.
I thought they matched up well.
Right.
You had at the end of that game, and we didn't talk about this. We're talking about it now.
Right.
You had announcers that knew nothing, and you had a coach of the Eagles that knew nothing at the end of that game. I knew what was going on, and I said, I can't believe they're doing this. The Jets haven't scored an offensive touchdown since 1973. And Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, allows Breece Hall to score. And the announcers are saying, I can't believe he scored. He should have fallen down.
Yeah, I don't.
First of all, if he falls down, the Jets get a field goal, and they give the ball back. I don't care how bad Hurts was that day.
Yeah.
They give the ball back to the Eagles
Right.
with a minute to go in all their timeouts.
Right.
And there's no chance the Jets are winning that game. Hurts brings them down the field, and they kick a field goal and win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And for the announcers to sit there and say, what a mistake by Hall, was absurd. Don't they see that the Jets haven't scored? They knew nothing about what was going on, and the Eagles coach was even worse. Agree or disagree?
No, I agree, but I didn't hear what the announcer said because I was jumping up and down on my couch at that point.
If we have video of that, we'll get 1 million views.
Okay.
But
yes, it was obvious once they let Hall score. What should have happened did not happen.
They play defense and force him to kick a field goal.
Right, exactly. But by the same token, the Jets in the second half, other than the Dallas game, have given up squat in the second half of games. They go down early, they stay in it. If they get enough offense, which is lacking, Zerline's kicking field goals, they're giving up nothing in the second half. Absolutely nothing, as they did the other day, which eventually that wears out.
Okay.
Eventually, you got to score in that league to win.
Exactly. So you agree with me?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, I can't believe Sirianni allowed him to score.
No.
You have all your timeouts,
Right.
and you have Zach Wilson at quarterback.
Mhm.
You could get a pick. You can get a pick.
Mhm.
You could. The worst case scenario is you force them to a field goal,
Mm-hmm.
and you get the ball back with 1:40 to go, and Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what announcers were watching.
Yeah.
These guys who get paid millions of dollars had no idea what they were talking
Yeah,
about.
but they give the Jets credit. They rose to the occasion.
Absolutely give the Jets credit. Salah was good.
In that sequence, the Jet defense was tremendous.
They put a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts.
And here's another thing, the Eagles. Was it 3rd and 10 or 4th and 10, whatever it was. He's throwing the ball completely down the field. He's having a bad day.
And he underthrew him.
Yeah. And there were 3 Jet defenders there.
Yes.
Any one of the 3 could have intercepted that ball.
Hurts didn't have a good game.
No.
Artist Alley was not happy. Her sister, she's a face painter.
Who?
Artist Alley's sister. She's a diehard Eagle fan.
Okay.
I won't even kid around with her.
Okay.
You would think Jalen Hurts is her son. But the Eagles the Eagles, could they be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You had the Eagles lose. You had the 49ers lose in Cleveland.
Right.
McCaffrey is all world, but he's also all hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, to me, Miami's the most impressive team. I know they lost to Buffalo. I know they got killed. The game was in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But Miami could score 100 points a game.
Yeah, they can.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the NFL, anything you want to point out?
I was, what's his name Purdy took a lot of heat. But if you think about it, when it was on the line, he got his team down there in field goal position to win it. The guy just missed not a long one, but not a short one.
A guy who didn't miss all year
exactly,
until that game.
Exactly. I would have, if you tell me then, I'll bet you 50, I would have taken it. I would have taken that he makes it. So
Listen,
he really put him in a position to win. Not that he had a great game. And and once they lost Debo and McCaffrey.
And an offensive lineman.
And the fact that I don't know what the hell happened with George, the tight end, the good tight end.
George Kittle.
Oh, he had one pass for 1 yard at that point.
You got to give some credit to Cleveland. They also played without
Defense
Deshaun
was
Watson,
tremendous.
and their defense was great.
Tremendous.
But to your point about Brock Purdy, obviously the whole world knows the story, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
When he has a bad game, they're going to say he's not good. When he's either going to be a great story or,
And again, you have to wonder how the hell Cleveland won that game offensively. The quarterback was like everywhere. I mean, they made a lot of damn mistakes to win. There was some bad football, I thought, in the NFL. So like the last night's game, I thought I went to baseball.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah. For me, it was. And I got Prescott in my fantasy team, but I was like, man, this is bad. This is bad.
Let me give you some teams. Tell me if they're for real. The Detroit Lions are 5-1, and I thought they had a very impressive win down against the tough Tampa team. Baker Mayfield's played well this year.
He has.
Jared Goff is playing out of his mind. Are the Lions for real?
Yeah, you know what?
They played good defensively.
Yeah, but here's the thing too. This is a carryover from their last 6 or 7 games last year.
Absolutely,
they're on that kind of a roll now. Are they scary? I agree. I think they are.
So in the AFC, Dick,
and depending on if they win the North, some of these teams may have to come through them to get to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So
I agree.
I agree. I think they're good.
Detroit has Atlanta this week, I think.
Right.
Or I'll check.
Yeah.
The Jaguars had a good win.
Right.
They had a win they had to have.
Exactly.
The AFC South is really just terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the Texans are a good story. They're 3-3,
Right.
but no one in that division.
But there's a pick that I think this kid's going to be Stroud. I think he's going to be a pretty good quarterback.
So far, there's no one that could debate that.
I think they need a few more offensive weapons there and a little, and I think the coach has done a really good job with them. And I think they could be down the road, not that far down the road. I think they could be pretty good. But the Jaguars needed that win big time.
And let's stay in the AFC.
Yeah.
Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and the Bengals sit there in last place.
Right.
Burrow's been hurt. Who's the best team in that division?
I still think Cincinnati, but
that's my point.
They got too much talk going on. I think they got some locker room problems there. I think.
I mean, they're 3-3. They're still a game out of first.
Yeah.
I think the best team in that division is either the Ravens or the Browns or the Bengals. Sorry,
but they get hurt too easily.
Yeah.
The Bengals, their defense. I mean, the Ravens' defense is always good, but offensively, their players go down easily, and as what's his name starting to carry the load a little more, Lamar, and I think he's going to be banged up going in.
Well, the Bengals have a bye week this week,
which they need.
Certainly
desperately need.
One thing again, back to does Aaron Rodgers play again this year? I mean, you're reading stories. You saw him out there throwing the ball.
Right.
You're reading stories that with the bye week, Rodgers could be back in 6 weeks. Is that possible?
No, well, it depends. If they're in contention, possible. If they're not,
they're going to be in contention.
Well,
we'll
see.
Let's look at the Jets schedule. Let's get a little excited.
Remember, I told you in the beginning of the year, if they came out of them first 6 weeks 3-3, I would have been very happy.
Yeah, I think 4-2 because I think they would have beat the Patriots with Rodgers.
Yeah, but I still think 3-3. I was still happy with that.
Jets are 3-3.
Right.
Let me give you the rest of their schedule. They have a bye. Then they have the Giants.
Right.
So I'm going to say the Jets win. That's 4 wins. Home versus the Chargers, who are every year the most disappointing team in football.
I agree.
Justin Herbert is a great quarterback.
Right. They're wasting him.
Yes.
They're wasting him.
Then they go to Vegas and play the Raiders.
Right.
3, 4, 5, 6. They're at the Bills. I think they lose. They're home to the Dolphins. I think they lose.
Okay.
6-6. Falcons, 7. Texans, 8. At Miami, I'm going to give them another loss. 8, 9. I think the Jets win 10 games without Rodgers.
Okay.
Without Rodgers.
All right. Then
You add Rodgers, they could win 12.
if they get to 8 with them games going and he's healthy, I think they bring him back.
The other division, Kansas City wins that division in a walk.
Yeah. But they haven't looked so impressive here lately.
There's not the team that to me was the most impressive through the first 6 weeks of the 49ers, and they lost.
Right.
But we talked about their injuries.
Yeah.
Let's go to the NFC. I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC East. I think you're a fool if you don't believe that.
No, I agree.
The Cowboys had a win they had to have. Mm-hmm. Prescott had to have.
Right.
You know, if I make the comment to you, Prescott is the most underrated and the most overrated player in the NFL, which side would you argue?
Well, my thing is he's a very good regular season quarterback. I don't think he has it when it's crunch time. I think when the lights are bright, I think something happens.
You know what Prescott needs? Yeah. Here's what the Cowboys need.
They won a tough game last night without him making a turnover. Mm-hmm. And a game that they had to win in a low-scoring game. If he makes one mistake, they lose. Mm-hmm. They lose. He didn't make that mistake last night.
Dak Prescott, and this goes to your playoff thing, so I agree with you, needs that signature win over the Eagles, over the 49ers, over the Chiefs. You know, not the play. You know what I'm saying? He needs that signature win.
I do.
Beating up on the Chargers and beating up on the Raiders and the Patriots is not going to do it for him.
They have a pretty tough schedule, Dallas.
Well, let me give you Dallas. Yeah. They go to Philly. They've had the Rams.
Right.
Then they go to Philly where, like I just said, Prescott needs that one win. Right. I think they get killed in Philly again.
I do too.
They play the Giants, at Panthers, home Washington, home Seattle.
Washington playing better. Sam Howell has done a great job for them.
Yeah, they lost last week.
Yeah.
Great job. They finish up. Look at the Dallas's finishing schedule. Mm-hmm. Seattle at home.
Right.
Tough game.
Right.
Eagles.
Right.
Bills away.
Right.
In Miami.
Right.
Home versus, like we just mentioned, the Lions.
Right.
And then a divisional game on the road against the Commanders. Listen, Dallas can't lose enough.
They may have the toughest schedule in football finishing now.
They could.
Yeah. And we'll see.
We'll see. You watched the Giant game? Because we're talking NFC now?
I did.
It's the second week in a row, clock management.
Yes.
How do you run a play with no timeouts? Yeah. And how do you not get a yard?
No, I don't.
Twice. Yeah. End of the first half, end of the game.
With one of the best running backs in football, too.
I mean, they beat Buffalo. Yeah. They outplayed them. Yeah. They outplayed them for 58 minutes.
Yeah. They're in the process of trying to figure out how to win without their best players on the field, and that's very tough, particularly against good teams.
And the Giants have one win. We could be talking about a Giant team that has the number 1 overall pick next year, and I don't know if they draft a quarterback or not. Look at the Giants' schedule, Dick, and none of these are wins.
No.
This week is probably could be a win. They're home against the Commanders.
Okay.
It's a must.
I wouldn't bet that.
Either would I. Then they play the Jets, at Vegas, at Dallas, at Washington, home versus New England, at home Green Bay, at New Orleans, at Philly, home Rams, at home Philly. The Giants, I can't make them a favorite in one game.
I can't. I agree with you. With you. You know, we have. Go ahead. Stay in the NFC.
I am. Let me ask you this: if the Giants have the number 1 overall pick,
do they get a quarterback?
And you're the GM, are you taking Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Penix, or
Drake May?
Or May? What are you doing? Or are you going offensive line? Or are you trading it?
I would. Well, they got a lot of money invested in Jones now.
1 more year left, I think, guaranteed, or maybe it's 2, but it's not a lot, really.
If you're there,
Barkley's only on a 1-year deal.
If you're there and Drake May or Williams are there, I think you got to draft them. Because you'll have them on rookie contract for 4 years or 5 years, however that works.
I can't argue with you, but if someone came to me and said, "We'll give you 3 offensive linemen," you have to take that because of the money you have tied up in Jones.
Okay. But the thing of it is, you don't win without a quarterback in this league. You know that.
Yeah, but you can't win with a quarterback. Can't win without a line.
No, I understand. I understand that. As a lot of teams are finding that out.
Yeah.
A lot of teams are finding that.
So
out.
the Eagles and the 49ers
Yeah.
are the best two teams in the NFC.
Right.
After that, where are you going? To
Detroit.
Detroit. You think they're for real?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Let me give you the Lions schedule. They're 5-1 right now. Let me see how many wins I can come up with. They go to Baltimore this week in a very good game.
Right.
Very good game there.
Right.
Then they have the Raiders. They have 5 wins. I'll split those. So they have 6 at San Diego. I can't give them a win there, but I can give them these. Bears, Packers. That's 6, 7, 8 at Chicago without Fields 9. Broncos stink 10. They can win 10, 11 games.
Right. And win the North.
Yes.
And win the North.
And get a home playoff game. You're
and
right.
maybe 2, depending on how
You're
it
right.
breaks down. Depending on how it breaks down.
There really is no in the AFC. I could argue Miami,
but you
Buffalo.
know who we haven't talked about?
Who?
You just mentioned Buffalo just now.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about them since the conversation started.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They just
Gun to head. Who's the best team in the AFC after Kansas City? Or give me the top 3, including Kansas City.
Okay. Miami, Buffalo,
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Then after that, it could be anybody, depending on injuries. I told you, I think the 2 teams in the Super Bowl are going to be the 2 healthiest teams at the end of the season. I just don't think. If let's say McCaffrey and Debo don't come back, I'm just saying they're supposed to come back.
Yeah.
They're a different team.
Mm-hmm.
They're a completely different team.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens are the same way. If they didn't have Mark Andrews, they'd have a lot of problems, and they still got scored.
And they lost J.K. Dobbins right off the bat.
Right, and he's going to get hurt the way he's playing.
Lamar,
right?
Yes,
I think he's going to get hurt the way we. Then they have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Cleveland may be the 4th best team in that division in
the AFC. You're putting Cleveland ahead of the Jets. We just gave you the Jets 10 wins.
Right.
I can't come up with 10 wins.
No,
for the
I
Browns.
can't either.
And if Rodgers is the asterisk, I can't believe
Right.
it even come back.
And I don't know about Deshaun Watson. I have him on my fantasy team, and I don't know what he's got a different kind of injury, but he always has a different kind of injury.
Well, if he has a groin injury, he goes and gets a massage.
Oh, you had to go there. But anyway, and he's still not Deshaun Watson. You know you can't be away from the game 2 years and come back and expect to be what you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I love their defense. I think their defense
is
is fabulous.
Yeah.
So
When we come back, we will talk a little baseball. Orange County Bagel with 4 great locations, 1 in Middletown, Walden, 1 in Goshen, and in Washingtonville. Orange County Bagel with 4 great locations serving Orange County.
Other than their bagels, their Linzer tarts are outstanding.
Yes, and my partner has, I'm hoping it's Linzer tart all over your face. We will be right back. We are back, October 17th, 2023, Sports 845. We covered Section 9. We did college. We did the NFL. You touched on some more Section 9 with soccer and everything. Dick, the baseball playoffs, we haven't touched on at all, but I guess because the Mets and the Yankees just weren't that good this year.
Right.
What do you, first of all, it's been a while since, few weeks since Showalter was unceremoniously fired.
Yeah.
But he's gone. Who do you want to manage the Mets? Have you thought about it at all?
You know, I'm not too familiar what's out there. I don't want one of the older guys to come in. Although I preferred Showalter to stay. I thought he did a really good job. I think he took the brunt of the collapse. I think
the Mets just had injuries. That's the bottom line.
And you can't blame him for that. And what's out there, I don't know. I just don't want a guy, an analytic guy.
I think they're all analytic, and I think you're going to get an analytic guy because they just hired David Stearns.
But here's the thing: I don't know. Are the managers running the teams anymore?
No, I don't think
so.
Managers? I don't think so.
Well,
that was the whole thing with Showalter.
Yeah.
Vogelback was forced down his throat.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think that Boone is putting that lineup in every day? He's not.
Yeah. I think a baseball manager manages the game once it starts. Yeah. The lineup, I think, is maybe not him.
Which is so. then you have to look who's going to manage the game the best in the thing. No, I don't know.
If I gave you Greg Counsell,
I'm good.
Okay.
His reputation's good. He's young. He's not that far removed from the game. You know, he was a good player. He was a managing type player. He wasn't a great player. He was a very good player.
if the Mets hire Greg Counsell, if the Mets hire Mark DeRosa,
Right.
if the Mets hire one of those two guys,
Right.
that maybe I'm sure I'm
Right.
missing others, I'm fine.
Okay.
I really am.
Yeah.
One of those guys. To me, manager doesn't make that big.
Yeah,
of a
but I
difference.
would hope the new manager has a really grasp of the pitching staff. You know,
Yes,
has a good knowledge
manages
of
the bullpen.
Yes,
And they get Diaz back.
Right.
I think the priority before hiring a manager is re-signing Pete Alonso.
Yeah, and they're talking about trading him.
They're not talking about trading him. We're reading articles and rumors and stuff like that.
But you would think somebody would come out and say,
Well,
"We're not
listen,
trading them."
if someone calls up with
Yeah.
a big offer, you got to listen.
What's a big offer,
I don't know.
Darren? What's a big offer?
I don't know. Juan Soto re-signed and Blake Snell. There you go. I just gave you a big offer. And Snell's a free agent, I believe. So something of that ilk. You know, I don't know. Look at the Orioles. Here's why we don't know. Because the Orioles had 6 guys in their lineup
Right.
that neither one of us heard of.
Right.
They were draft picks, and
Right.
they did great in the draft.
Right.
And the Orioles were a great story.
Right. And the thing of it was, they didn't have the right kind of team and got blown out in the playoffs.
They
'Cause
need
weren't-
pitching.
They weren't ready. Right.
Dick,
Right. They won 104 games.
As a Met fan,
Yeah.
is there any part of you that's rooting for the Phillies?
Actually, I am.
That's my point.
I am.
I actually
I am.
like their team.
I am. I do too.
I
do.
like Harper.
Yeah.
I like Castellanos. I like Realmuto. There's no one on that team
I like
that
Trey
I
Turner.
don't like.
I thought Trey Turner was a big plus for them.
Yeah.
You know.
And they booed him. of
And I
course.
didn't like. For a long time, I didn't like Bryce Harper. I thought he was selfish. I thought he was. I think he's grown up, and I think he's terrific.
He's come up big.
He's terrific.
The-
And he solved a big thing for them at first base. He
Yeah.
solved a big thing for them by
Yeah.
playing first base well, by the way.
Kyle Schwarber's the only guy who hits 160 that's valuable. I mean, this guy, anytime he comes up, he could hit a home
50
run.
home runs, 106.
More home runs than singles.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
Now, the Phillies are up 1-0 over the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
The Rangers are up 2-0 over the Astros.
Yeah.
You're definitely rooting against the Astros, I would assume.
I am.
Yeah, so
I am.
I think the world is.
I am.
Texas Philly would not be a bad World Series, but I'll tell you this: the network, whoever has the World Series, is hoping to God it's not Diamondbacks Astros because no one's watching.
Right, exactly.
Do you like the expanded playoff format? You had before you answer that, you had the Dodgers win 100 games.
Right.
You had the Orioles win 100 plus games, and the Braves. You know,
106. Yeah, they're
the Braves could have the best lineup in the last 50 years, and they're out right away.
agreed. The numbers they put up were really mind-boggling.
So, do you like the expanded?
I think I do. Yeah.
Can you imagine what network if they had Diamondbacks Twins World Series? Commercials just dropped from $100,000 $1 million a minute to
If you
10
could
cents.
find them.
Yeah.
If you could find them.
So the Phillies are up 1-0. The Rangers are up 2-0.
Right.
Scherzer is on the roster now?
Yes,
Okay.
he's pitching tomorrow.
Okay. So that's the game I hope the Astros win. But you're right. Harper, Castellanos, it hurts watching Zach Wheeler.
Right.
He's become an ace
Right.
and a big playoff guy.
Alex Baum has become a really fine player there, and they got maybe the best catcher in baseball, Realmuto. He's really good.
Mhm.
Really good.
Yeah, you have interest in it? Are you watching it?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the
I
Phillies.
am.
I am.
And their crowd is beyond.
Yeah,
They're crazy.
there's
They're
something
crazy.
about it that
Right.
it's almost New Yorkish.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it reminds me almost of the old Yankee
Yeah.
Stadium a little
Yeah.
bit.
Phillies are having a good time playing baseball.
Yeah.
They're having a really good time playing baseball. So's Texas, by the way.
Yeah.
So
I haven't watched any of that.
Yeah.
I saw Aroldis Chapman came into the game last night, gave up a home run, and got taken out right away.
Jesus. Yeah.
But I guess a Philly Texas Ranger World Series would be watchable.
I'm in. I'm in.
Um,
Verlander will get another start.
what did the Yankees do? We talked about the Mets. What's the Yankee offseason look like? Again, Soto's got to be in their sights. I have a feeling the Mets make the biggest offer for Ohtani, but they don't get him.
Because he doesn't want to come east?
Yeah. What do the Yankees do? Who do they? I guess Soto would be in their sights as well.
You know what? To be honest with you, Darren, I think I'd be surprised if the Mets are in on Otani. I think they might go for the other Japanese player.
I think they go for both. You can't put anything past Stevie.
No, I know, but is Otani damaged goods now?
No. Guy hit 50 home runs last year.
Okay. No, all right. That's what I'm asking you.
No.
That's what I'm asking.
No. You sign Otani.
Is he going to pitch again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Okay.
You sign Otani, you get 50 and 100 out of him. He's your DH.
Okay.
And that's it. And next year he pitches.
Okay. All right. Then we're involved. Then we'll be involved.
I think they're going to be involved in a few guys. I think Otani, but I don't think they get him. I think they make a play for Snell in the free agent
Then
market.
who gets Otani? The Dodgers?
You know what?
The Giants may be in on that.
The Giants could be in. Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle could be in.
Yeah. But when Otani was in New York, did you see how many Asians were in that ballpark?
I didn't count them, but I'm sure there's a lot of Asians everywhere. But yes, I mean Otani is I wouldn't be shocked if he re-signed with the Angels.
No,
I also wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't re-sign with the Angels. If the Angels look to move Trout, another guy who's injured every year.
Yeah, you just can't. It's strange.
Strange because you got the two best players in baseball, arguably, you can't win.
I just don't understand. When I used to see baseball players play all the games, not get hurt, just play. If they were hurt, they played through it anyway. These guys, like in basketball with the measured days off and things, please,
Dick, when next week we're going to talk more about the NBA and just real quick, are you shocked at this? The Knicks over-under in wins is 46 and a half. Just to put it in perspective, the Celtics are the highest win total at 55. So the Knicks are 9 off of that.
I think that's fair.
The Knicks and the Sixers are very close.
Yeah.
Here's what I think, and again, we'll talk NBA next week.
Okay, yeah.
I think the Knicks have on their roster good young players, good contracts, and a very wanted contract in Evan Fournier. I think if the Knicks are very good at the trade deadline, you see a blockbuster move. I don't know who it is. No one does. It could be Donovan Mitchell. It could be anybody. But someone's going to be available, and the Knicks are in prime striking distance with what they've done. I love what they've done.
Well, let me ask you this. You say what's their over-under?
46. 47.
If a gun to your head, how would you bet them today? Would you bet it over? Would you bet
I have no idea. I didn't even study it yet. I didn't even look at it.
Okay. But I don't know.
But I think the Knicks make a big move at the deadline.
And I also, one of the big things that nobody's talking about, I'm glad they kept Thibodeau. All they were talking, they would let him go. I am so glad that they kept him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to make a big difference.
Yeah. Right now, I think the Celtics are the best team in basketball.
I do too.
Right now, today.
Yeah,
and I think you pointed it out a few weeks ago, and I completely forgot about it.
With Holiday and Porzingis, I think that's huge.
Porzingis' health is one of the top 10 question marks in the league.
Exactly.
When we come back, we reveal our NFL and college football picks, and we will be right back. We are back, Sports 845. We're going to give you our NFL college picks. We each pick 2 games every week because the Irishman's not here. Once again, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-877-HOPE New York or text HOPE New York and HOPE NY. If you have a really bad gambling problem and you can't win a game forever, call me or Dick. Before we pick, Dick, I have one question that I wanted to ask you at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
You on Tinder?
No.
Okay. Bill Belichick get fired?
No, not in this lifetime.
No?
No.
Okay. Does Bill Belichick get asked to retire?
He'll go on his own terms. Okay. Yeah. They would have real trouble doing that. And I don't think it's the coaching. I think they may have to relieve him as general manager.
He's done a horrific job.
He has. He really has.
Yeah.
He really has. He's actually done a horrific job right along. The best thing he did was Brady. Let's say
Mo Lewis forced him into Brady.
Listen, think of how good great Brady was with some of the players that he,
No, he had Randy Moss for,
Oh,
one,
for 1
year.
year.
He had Brown for a year.
Oh, come on. We're not talking Troy Brown with all these receivers.
He went to Marshall.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, let's do our picks. Dick, you can go first and tell us why. Where you starting? NFL?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Green Bay at Denver because I think Denver may have the worst team in football. And they're getting one on the road. I think Green Bay is starting to come together. Watson is back. Doubs is back. I think Aaron Jones might be back this week. So I think, and Dylan's been giving them a good job, and their defense is getting better.
Picked up Dylan in fantasy because Mixon's on a bye week.
Right.
But,
okay.
Okay.
But I like them getting a point. Miami
goes to Philly,
and
right?
getting two. I just don't like the way. I think Philadelphia is maybe the best team in football, and I'm picking against them. But I just think that Miami, still in warm weather, has too much speed, and this could be a really telltale game for Miami. I think we find out how good Miami is this week.
I think we also find out how good Philly is.
Maybe, yeah,
because if Jalen Hurts
yeah.
doesn't play 3 times as good as he did last week,
Right.
Miami wins in a
Well,
rout.
two weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Jalen has.
Yeah, you're right.
doubled. Yeah. And then we're going to stay there. You want me to go to college?
Go to college.
Okay. I like Alabama just because I like Alabama. I think at home, I think they're getting better. I don't think Tennessee is near what they were last year. I still think they're a formidable pro, but I think Alabama is going to. I like Alabama 2 touchdowns.
What's the line on that game?
9.5.
9.5. I will tell you that Alabama last week did not look great in the second half
No, they
against
did not.
Arkansas.
They did not. And then I like Ole Miss at Auburn because I think.
Auburn can't score.
And I think Lane Kiffin will find a way to score points on them. I think Ole Miss is maybe one of the most underrated teams in college football.
I listen. Yeah. When they played Alabama, I picked that Ole Miss,
right.
And they when I pick a team and they lose, I'm done with them.
Okay, but I think they're back and they're playing much better than they have. The Alabama, they rebounded from the Alabama long, and I like Ole Miss this week.
Okay. My games, and you could lock these in. I haven't lost in 2 years. Dick, you mentioned the Lions being a surprise, not a surprise, but a carryover from last year, a very tough team. Right. They go to Baltimore this week, where I think the Ravens' record doesn't show how good they are.
Right.
Lamar Jackson is still healthy. I think the Ravens could have won the last 2 weeks by 20 points. They just make silly mistakes at bad times. Mm-hmm. But I think the Ravens come back from London and have a big game at home and beat Detroit. The Ravens are a 3-point favorite. I like the Ravens at home -3.
Okay.
Atlanta last week, it's a game they had to win. They played Washington. Not only did they play poorly, they looked horrible. Mm-hmm. And Tampa, I think, is better than they are. Tampa at home, only 2-point line. I like Tampa at home over the Falcons. To go to the end, to college football, I'm going to stay with some big games. Utah cannot score points. If Cam Rising is back, maybe I sing a different tune. But Utah can't score. USC, we know, can score. I think USC has a bounce back at home and gets a big win over Utah and a must win. USC -6.5 at the Coliseum.
Okay.
My second game is the game of the year so far. Penn State goes to the Horseshoe, plays Ohio State. We talked about it a little earlier. We both seem to agree. I'm going to take Penn State +4.5 at Ohio State. Those are my picks. We will be back.
You picking them to win or to cover?
I'm picking Penn State +4.5.
Okay.
That's what I'm picking.
All right.
We will be back next week. And to all, be safe. And we'll see you next week.
And thank you for listening.